We all know the stories of Bessie Millie selling fair winds to sailors. She certainly seemed to have a few powers up her sleeve. There was a story of one of the sailors on a ship that had come into Orkney, and the skipper had gone up the hill. He'd spent his sixpence, he'd got his fair wind, gone back down to the ship. But one of his crew had stolen one of Bessie's ducks. Now, when Bessie came to miss the duck, she knew pretty well who had got it. By this time the ship had already sailed and was going out through Hoy Sound. She hurried as quickly as she could down to the Point of Ness, and waving her headscarf at the ship, it suddenly stopped, and then it started to move backwards through the Hoy Sound against the prevailing tide and wind, until it ended up on the rocks at the Point of Ness, high and dry, just sitting there. And so the skipper had to go humbly up to Bessie's little hut and apologise to her for the theft and return the duck. And after that, the ship was released and could go on its way. When Bessie Millie died, she was replaced by another witch called Mammy Scott, and she also sold fair winds to sailors. Now, there was a small boat was stranded in Stromness because the wind was in the wrong direction. They couldn't sail back to their home port, which I think was in Caithness. Now, this boat was crewed by a father and two sons, and the father would have nothing to do with witches. He hated them. He'd have no truck with them whatsoever, no dealings with them. But the boys were getting desperate. They wanted home. I think at least one of them had a girlfriend, and that would likely have a lot to do with it. But they were wanting out of Stromness back home. So they went along and they seen Mammy Scott. And they handed her the money, and in return she gave them 3 straws. And around each straw there was a piece of coloured wool tied. One was green, one was blue, and one was red. She told them what to do when they were sailing out through the harbour in Stromness. Throw the green one over the side, and that would give you a good strong wind, would pick up and would blow them in the right direction. When they go a bit further, if they wanted to go a bit faster, they could throw the blue one over the side. But whatever they did, they must never, ever throw the red one over, because that was the powerful one that controlled them all. So they agreed and thanked her, and off they went down to the boat, and the straw with a piece of green wool was thrown over the side. The wind veered around and freshened, and soon they were sailing out through Stromness harbour. And then when they were wheeling away, the boys, thinking this is going good, threw the other straw over, the one with a bit of blue thread tied around it. And the wind freshened, and they scudded along on the surface of the sea there, sailing away. In no time at all, they were delighted to see their home port in front of them. They were just sailing in through the harbour mouth when one of the sons stood up, and the straw fell from his pocket onto the deck of the boat. And father seen it, and he knew what it was, and he turned and picked it up. He stared at this piece of straw with a bit of red wool tied around it, and he said, "You've been dealing with witches. I'll have none of that on this boat." And he threw it over the side into the water. Well, as soon as it touched the water, the sky turned black, and a gale blew up. The wind veered around from a different direction, and it blew straight against the boat. All they could do was turn around and flee before the storm. It blew them all the way back to Stromness. They were right back where they started.